Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Cinema Condition, a podcast devoted to analyzing films and what makes a movie a movie. I am your host, Raul Alejandro Mendoza, a filmmaker and film critic. Today, I am joined by Anna Harrison. They are my fellow writer over at Drink in the Movies, and today they have selected Alex Garland's Ex Machina. Hey, Anna, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Raul. Thanks for asking. I'm excited to dig into this movie. How are
Yep,
you doing?
I'm okay. I'm all right. I've been, like I said, I've been tired. I just been working a lot. I am currently trying to do my best to record all these episodes. I am catching up on stuff to record for Nerdcore and then stuff for my YouTube channel, and then also trying to not neglect drinking the movies. But I don't know. It's a lot going on.
You're crazy. That's too much for me.
I know I'm crazy. I know, and I feel like you should know this. I know.
I know, but
We don't even know each other that long, but I feel like you should know that I'm this crazy.
I know, and I like it's one of those things where like you know something, right?
Yeah,
But then you're explaining exactly what it is, all you have to do,
yeah,
and I'm like, wow, like that just I'm so tired listening to that, you know?
yeah. Now you know why I don't post a lot of reviews to the site, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
like
mean,
when.
to be fair, I've also been slacking on that one, so
Yeah,
you're in good company.
yeah. I do a lot, and I feel like I need to actually start minimizing what I do. But it's just I don't know, dude. I take some days off, and then I'm just here, and I'm just like, dude, I'm so fucking bored. Like I'd rather be doing something.
Yeah. No,
Like
I'm the same way where I'm always stressed and I'm like, I have way too much to do and too many commitments. And then if I
yeah.
don't have something to do, I'm like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah, it's like what am I doing here? I'm just all alone
Yeah.
and my dog, and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? It's like, yeah, but oh my god, it's just it's a what's it called, a constant struggle, right? Either we're doing something or
Yeah.
we're not doing something, and I don't know. But my wonderful friend Anna here is here for another episode. She was here first for the Annihilation episode, and then we decided, hey, we gotta do it. Also, we gotta do fucking Ex Machina. I think we should do Ex Machina. You know, and
Absolutely.
yeah, and I said, sure, Raul, I'll be back. I'm not annoyed of your podcast just yet.
Yeah, no, I'm not. So
No.
got that
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. You had such high hopes for me though. In the first episode, you're like, Raul has great taste. And now the more you sat with me here, you're like, God damn it, Raul, you have some stinkers in there.
I don't think I was thinking that, but you said that, not me, right?
Yep. Oh yeah, I'm just fucking with you. I'm just fucking with you. But our episode was really good for Annihilation. I really liked it, and I think and a lot of people really liked it too. And I'm just really happy that you're back again. Anything new happening in your life as of late?
Um, well, so I moved to LA last October, so I've been out here almost a year. Um, you know, there's a lot going on out here, and maybe there's a lot there's a lot of stuff. I should talk about this with my therapist, but basically, I don't know if I like LA, but that's okay. It's all been a learning adventure, and maybe I'll be moving back soon. That's also okay because Atlanta's great. Um, so it's been a wild year. Um, out here, and I think I've learned and grown as a person, and it's just
It's I can tell that Anna's been having it rough as of late because the way
yeah.
that you're trying to stumble across these words right now.
No, I know. Oh my god, I'm trying to be as diplomatic as possible. Um, just some things have not gone the way I expected. That's okay, right? Um, I've learned, like I said, I've learned a lot. And I will say, great thing about LA, tons of movies all the time.
Oh yeah,
I've been able to lord it over my friends when I'm able to see movies before them, which is
nice.
fantastic. I love that. Yeah. And, there's a bunch of movie theaters around me. And so that's really great. So there are definitely some good things going on here, in the it's I can I my work office is right near the CBS daytime studios. So if I walk to lunch, I can sometimes walk by the uh Writers Guild picketers, which is kind of you know that's kind of fun. I'm like, hey guys, like support.
Support, but I have to
Uh,
go to work, guys.
yeah, I'm really sorry. I have to walk right through you to get to this sandwich shop that I want to go to, but I support you.
Yep. Yep. Well, look, dude, I'm just glad you're out. Look, you took a chance and you wanted to try it out, and even though it might not be for you, you're out there and you're actually getting it done, and you're trying your best. And I'm really proud of you, and I'm really happy that you decided to do it. And hey, look, you might have found out you don't like it that much, so you're like, fuck it, like I want to go back to Atlanta. So you're good. At least you
Thanks,
tried.
man.
At least
Yeah,
you tried. There's a lot of people who don't try, and you
yeah,
tried.
yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I understand it can be rough. I'm having it rough out here too, and I'm not even in fucking LA.
Yeah, well, don't come.
Yeah,
Don't come unless it was to visit me. That would be fine, but
yeah,
don't, you know.
yeah. I have friends over there who are like,
Yeah.
"Raul, when are you coming over here? When are you coming over here, Raul?" And I'm like, dude, I can barely afford where I live right now,
It is
dog.
so expensive. Like,
Yeah.
I just went to the grocery store this morning before this just to buy like literally just stuff to make like burrito bowls and some fruit. And it was like $80. I was like, what am I doing here? What am I doing here?
Yeah. It's
Crazy stuff.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So I don't know. They're like, come visit us then, bro. And I'm like, all right, man. I'll try my best, but you gonna pay for the fucking ticket? Because
Yeah.
I ain't got money for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Yeah.
it's tough.
It's very tough. But I'm glad. I'm glad that you did it, dude. And I'm glad that you're out there. And it's not for you. And you're like, hey, I want to go back to Atlanta. So I'm look. Whatever you do, I know you're gonna do it right.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
That's very nice. Thank you.
Yeah, I know you're having it rough. I can tell right
I
now.
know.
You're like, dude, this ain't going right. You're like- so I get it. So you just hang in there and just finish up what you got to do. And if the opportunity presents itself to go back to Atlanta, then take it. Go back to Atlanta.
Get the fuck out of here. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. You know what would be crazy though? Is like if you go back to Atlanta and the strikes end literally that week, then you go
Oh,
back to
I know. Yeah, I
and
know.
you're
It's
just like,
so annoying because
fuck.
I know. I've been like looking for jobs both in Atlanta and out here, and there's just nothing out here because all the strikes. I'm like, ah,
Hmm.
I support you. I support the strikes, but
Yeah.
also I'm like, I need a different job. Get me out of here.
Yep. Well, Anna, you selected Ex Machina, and we already introduced them to Alex Garland, so there's no need to do that
Yes.
big introduction about Alex. So, wow, I just went first name basis on him. I'm sorry, Alex Garland.
No,
So,
y'all are friends. I think you should.
yeah, bro, he's
You're
he's down
best.
with the Latino community, right? Yeah, he's here with me.
Fuck
Yeah,
yeah.
we both we acclimate like that, my boy. Yeah, that shit good. Yeah. Um, So I wrote a little bit of an introduction for Ex Machina here, so I'll go ahead and read it, and then we'll go ahead and get into what we got to do here. So Alex Garland laid out the foundation for this film when he was around 11 or 12 years old. Imagine that. First of all,
Yeah.
just
When I was 11 or 12, I think I was still relying on my father to do all computer stuff for me, and I was more concerned with riding my pony.
I didn't
So,
know how to use a fucking computer at 11 or 12.
yeah, I was like, "Dad, can you turn this on?"
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Like, do you remember I don't know if you had this like the little like computer lab we had like a computer lab at my elementary school where we'd go in and do like oh my god, there was like some precursor to Photoshop, but for children, like Pixel something. It was like a little art thing. That was always the highlight of my week.
Yeah, we
It
grew up in
was,
two different areas, bro. Because I didn't have none of that shit. Yeah. The only
yeah,
computers were in the library, and it was for the
yeah,
accelerated reading shit. You know,
hmm
and yeah, I didn't know how to use any of that stuff. And it's like, okay, take your test for your accelerated reading shit, and I'm like, okay, cool. And it's like, can I
yeah,
go back now? It's like, cool. Yeah.
yeah,
Raul at 11 or 12 years old was just preoccupied with video games, professional wrestling, and I don't know what else, but he wasn't
That
talking
kind of
about
sounds
movies.
like you right
Right
now.
now, right now, right? That kind of sounds like me right now. Not a lot has changed, right? Not a lot
Yeah,
has
yeah.
changed. Not a lot has changed. But but now I do know how to work a computer. No, I do know how to work a
I'm
computer.
very, very proud of you.
Yeah, yeah. But it was when he was around 11 to 12 years old when he coded and experimented on a computer his parents bought. He believed that computers had a mind of their own, but some of his friends believed that computers could never become sentient. Garland had an epiphany while in pre-production for Dread when he read a book on consciousness by Murray Shanahan. Both Shanahan and Adam Rutherford later became consultants on the film on Ex Machina. The film references some tests like the Turing test, the Chinese room, and Mary's room. The film draws inspiration from works such as 2001: A Space Odyssey, Altered States, William Shakespeare's The Tempest, and books written by Ludwig Wittgenstein,
Yeah.
Ray Kurzweil, and other authors. Yeah, the film was made on the smallest budget Garland could get to secure his creative control. The film was shot over 4 weeks at Pinewood Studios and 2 weeks at Juvet Landscape Hotel in Va-
Just close enough.
Valdeland, Norway. 15,000 tungsten P-bulb lights were installed to avoid using fluorescent lights that were usually used in sci-fi films. The film was shot completely in live action with no green screen, special effects, or tracking markers. All visual effects were done in post-production. Ava's robot body was created by using a full bodysuit from polyurethane with metal powder poured onto it so it could create the mesh. It also lines in them so it would be it also had lines in them so it would be easier for the VFX artists to remove parts digitally. They shot scenes with and without Alicia Vikander to make sure that the background was kept so they could create her robotic features. The parts that were necessary to keep were rotoscoped and then digitally painted along with restoring the background behind her. There were 800 VFX shots in the film, and approximately 350 of them were robot shots. The film was released in the United Kingdom on January 21st, 2015, by Universal Pictures, and in the United States by A24 on April 10th, 2015, because apparently Universal refused to release this film domestically. They only wanted to release it
Oh.
internationally. They did not want to release it, so
Oh
A24
my
came in
god.
with it. And the film received a nomination for Best Original Screenplay and won the Best Visual Effects Award at the 88th Academy Awards. The film was also nominated for multiple British Film Academy Awards. Yep. I butchered a lot of those names, but
You know what? You did just about this. You said them the same way that I would have. So
yeah, yeah,
I say they're great. You didn't mess up at all.
yeah. Well, thanks, Anna. It means a lot. Right now over on the Nerdcore, we're doing an international film month, so I'm butchering every single freaking name that I can think of.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That's you're just learning by doing, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I only know Spanish and I only know English. I'm sorry, y'all. That's the
Well,
only two. That,
you're one ahead of me because I only know
uh,
English
yeah.
and the first sentence of Caesar's Gallic Wars from my time doing Latin in high school. So that's about it.
Well, Anna, why did you choose Ex Machina?
Well, we were talking about another Alex Garland film, and so I wanted to keep it on theme, but also Ex Machina, I think so I'd watched it I think it was 2016 or 2017. It was before my freshman year of college. And this was when I was like realizing who Alex Garland was because I really liked Sunshine and I was like, oh, and then I had read a book by him in high school, actually, The Beach, which was then made into a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, a bad movie. And uh, so then, I had heard about Ex Machina, so I watched it. And I remember, I really liked it at the time and was very impressed by it, but I just hadn't rewatched it since. And so I felt this was one that was ripe for a rewatch. And it was, let me tell you. Um, and also, I mean, when I picked this, it was last year, right? And I think in the year between podcast episodes that I've been on, I think a lot of the themes are like, questions around AI have become even more relevant, which was not obviously not on purpose because I chose it, before the strikes about AI and the rise of Chat GPT and things like that. So it just happened to become even more relevant than it already was in the time between choosing it and recording this podcast. Um, but yeah, I love sci-fi. I think this is a really I remember thinking this was a really good movie, and so I wanted to uh, watch it again and maybe like talk about it maybe more in depth than I would have, when I watched it when I was like 17 or 18.
Hmm. Well, I'm glad because, man, I remember the first time I watched this movie. We were, so my dad, we were in Best Buy and we picked this up on Blu-ray. Um,
Nice.
yeah, and my dad was just like, "Hey, this looks good." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, uh, "He says Oscar, best visual effects." I was like, "Pick it up." I was like, "Okay, okay, Dad." I was like, "All right, well, so it must be good." My dad, it jumps in between like certain things, like what my dad is into. My dad really
Yeah.
loves historical stuff. He loves
Yeah.
historical stuff.
Classic
Yeah,
dad vibe.
yeah. And then all of a sudden, like my dad will also like be interested in stuff like this, and it's like,
Wow.
okay, I'm like, okay, Dad, okay,
Yeah. He
yeah,
contains multitudes.
oh yeah. So we watched it together. He fucking loved it. He really liked it, and he was like, "Oh, this was really good." And I was like, "This is really good." I thought it was really good too, but I was just like, I don't know. There's a lot going on here that I'm actually like thinking about like more here, where I was like, like about AI and all these things, and I was like, oh
Hmm.
wow, like wonder what all of this could become, because like we all had heard like when we were kids, I mean, we all heard about like virtual reality and all that things, and we're like, oh, okay, like I'm pretty sure that's like way in the distant future. Like when we're gonna be gone, that's gonna be possible.
Yeah.
Haha, nah, nah. You can buy a
Little
fucking
did you
headset.
know.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. You can buy a headset, go into VR chat, and play as fucking Sonic the Hedgehog and talk to people. So
Oh god.
yeah. So you could, yeah, and that you could do that, and it's like, so AI was always a thing that we were always told about, like, movies like iRobot and all that. We were like, the robots are
Hmm.
gonna take over, the robots are gonna
Yeah.
take over, and
Yeah.
like, you're like, okay, but that's not gonna happen anytime soon. Like, come
Right.
on,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Hmm.
And
We
now
were
we're
so
kind of in this,
silly.
yeah, like, you're so silly, dude. Like, how fucking stupid are you? Like, there's no way that the robots are gonna take over, bro. And then like
Yeah.
we're kind of like in this time period now where we have a fucking chatbot that can write like essays and shit, and like they could write scripts and stuff, and you're just like, oh, this shit is becoming a little more real.
Yeah.
So
No, absolutely.
yeah, and I rewatched the movie before this. I think I've watched the movie like 3 times total.
Hmm.
And the second time is where it really hit for me, and I think it's when I started to really get into like movies and really start to think about movies outside of just like pure entertainment and stuff like that. So I was just like, oh man, I was like, I really like this movie, and I thought it was fucking masterful, and I love Oscar Isaac's performance in this movie. Is just
So good. Oh my god. Tear it up the fucking dance floor, man.
I love him in this movie, and I think this was the first movie I watched him in too.
Oh
So,
really?
mm-hmm. Uh huh. I
Wow.
had never seen Drive. I had never seen any other movie before this one. This was my first. This was my introduction to Alex Garland. To what's it called? To Alex Garland. Yeah, but to what's it called? To Oscar Isaac, and I fucking fell in love with this man's. What's it called? The actor, man. He was so.
Yeah.
He's so
Oh my
fucking good,
god.
man.
No, I think the first time I saw him was in Star Wars because I watched this after Star Wars.
Yeah,
But I'd like, even before Star Wars, I'd like heard about him and I'd been like, that man's attractive.
yeah,
I was like, I like that dude. No,
yeah,
oh my god, he's so good in this movie.
yeah, yeah. Star Wars is when I realized that he was Latino, and
Oh
that's why.
really?
Yeah, because I didn't know it. I didn't know who this fucking Oscar Isaac dude
Yeah,
was. So I was
yeah.
like, okay, cool. This is a really good movie. Like, I like that guy. I was like, but I didn't research more about him. And then when fucking Star Wars Force Awakens comes out, and I'm researching more, I'm like, this guy's Latino. It's like, oh shit,
Yeah.
like this guy's Latino. I was like, oh my god, like what's it called? I was just so excited, and I was like, dude, this guy's fucking awesome, and I can't wait to see more of him. And look, right here now we're like, it was Duke Leto Atreides, and
Oh yeah.
he's all these things, and he's become a big fucking commodity now.
Mm-hmm.
Like even in
Very hot
Drive, he's so
commodity.
good,
Yeah.
man. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I love this movie. I'm glad you selected it again, and I'm glad that we had to do another podcast episode because I think that this movie has a lot going on. There's a lot of things that I picked up now at 26 years old that I think that I am like ready to have a conversation about that I probably wouldn't have been able to have, wouldn't have like a mature conversation about when I first watched this when I was like 21 or something like that.
Yeah.
So what's it called? So I'm glad that you chose this film. Actually, not 21. I'm sorry. I've watched this shit when I was like 18 or 19. Yeah.
Yeah, no, same. I
Yeah.
was, yeah, like 17 or 18, and
Uh-huh.
I was like, "Oh, this is good." And now watching it at 24, almost at the really old age of 25, I'm like,
Uh-huh.
"Oh, wow. There's
Yeah.
even more going on here."
Yeah, there's a lot going on here, but of course, this movie's fantastic, and I do highly recommend everybody watch this because this is just what a great movie this is. This is one of the best sci-fi films of the 2010s. I can't believe that this is what he started his career with,
Yeah.
and and
Yeah.
he goes on to make a fucking beautiful religious experience with uh with Annihilation
Annihilation,
after.
yeah.
Yeah, and then
Mhm.
sadly it goes down the drain with the.
Listen, I liked Men. I
You
think it's
did?
the weak I did. I think it's the I mean, I think it's the weakest of the stuff that he's directed. Um, but I mean, like, okay, like is a strong word. I
Yeah,
didn't
I know it
enjoy
is.
I didn't enjoy watching it. It was not like an enjoyable film, but I still thought it was good. And I know people have like really strong opinions on it.
Yeah, I
And honestly,
don't.
I
Yeah,
don't have a super strong opinion. Like I don't have as much to say about it, I don't think, as Ex Machina and Annihilation. Because I think I obviously this episode is not about the movie Men, but
no,
having just going off of my one time seeing it in theaters, however long ago it came out, last year, like I think, you know, I think it's actually it's a much simpler movie I think than Annihilation or Ex Machina, even though it maybe tries to be more complicated in the way that it's presented. I don't know if that makes sense,
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I still thought it was a good movie.
I,
I gave it 4 stars on Letterboxd.
yeah.
Um,
I liked it. I don't love it, and I don't necessarily
yeah,
think that it's like the like it's his weakest movie for sure.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
I can't get over a film. I can't get into a film that just wants to constantly hit you over the head with what it's trying to say, and it's like, you know, especially like one of those last scenes where like, you know, person's coming out of the fucking
You mean
vagina like over and fucking
the
over and over.
yeah the male asshole
Yeah,
birth?
yeah, male asshole birth and just constantly
Yeah,
fucking birthing. I'm like, okay, I get it, Garland, I get it. Or like, I know what you're trying to say here, and I you've
yeah,
said it like a thousand fucking times before this movie, before this fucking what's it called, this scene right here, and it's just, I thought that was
yeah.
where I was like, oh man, but I don't know. I've never seen Devs either. I haven't seen that show,
Oh yeah, I
so
haven't seen that either.
yeah, I've heard that it's a little bit more up the alley of these two films, like
Yeah.
Annihilation and Ex Machina. But
Hmm.
I will say though, I think he's an incredible visual artist, and I think that man has some beautiful cinematography. I think
Absolutely.
that when it comes to that, he has a freaking he's ahead of the curve when it comes to shooting landscape and shooting nature, and I think that it really shows in this movie as well.
Yeah. I mean, I will say last thing I'll say on Men. Um, I think I literally just pulled up my letterbox review to remember what I was talking about. But uh there was like um I think I feel like there is, if I went back and rewatched it, I think there might be more going on in it. Just because like I remember after I had watched the movie, I was like, there's the part where his like Rory Kinnear's arm. Also, Rory Kinnear was so good in that movie. Anyway, but
Yeah.
his like arm gets split, and it looks like the forked tongue of the serpent, right? And I was
Hmm.
like really proud of myself for thinking of that and being like, ooh hoo hoo. Um, and then and then my friend Virginia that I was watching it with was talking about how the like naked version of Rory Kinnear looked exact or not very very similar to like one of the carvings in the church.
Hmm.
um and I just like I had completely missed that at all, so I think upon a rewatch I might catch
Yeah.
some things, because I think that's kind of like indicative of the whole movie, where like two different people picked up on watching two different things, and then like even with that you're still like, I don't know what the hell's going on. So I feel like a rewatch might illuminate some things for me, but also do I want to sit through that again? Probably
Yeah.
not.
I don't know. Yeah. Then again, I don't know. I'm over here been wanting to rewatch David Cronenberg's Crash again, and that yeah, that's
Oh no. See, I don't like that movie.
I fucking love that movie so much. I fucking
Oh
love that
god.
movie. I love that movie. But you know what? There's not a lot of movies that see disabled people the way that it sees that, and it's just like yes, disabled
No, yeah.
people have desires, yo. If you
Yeah.
you know, it's like what a great movie. But yeah. Well, if you're ready, Anna, I am ready.
Yes, I'm ready. Let's get back on topic.
Yeah. Well, this is our conversation on Alex Garland's Ex Machina. So I have a good amount of topics here to go through, Anna, but the film, we started off with this man who works at this AI company kind of thing. I'm not actually sure what he works at, but it's just
I
like
think
some
it's I think
programmer.
later in the movie he says, he talks about how it's like the number one search engine. So I assume it's just
Okay.
like a Google, it's a
Yeah.
Google analog.
Yeah, it's Google Analog or something, and it's like something about like programming and search engines and shit that
Uh,
Raul does not know anything about anymore.
Absolutely not. Anna
Uh,
does not either.
all right, yeah, and he wins a competition where he gets to spend a week with the CEO. First of all, why the fuck would you want to do that,
Right? I know. God.
dude? Look, you know what? This is a very like I'm not sure. I wouldn't say this is a very pro-capitalist film, but I think this is a film where it's like, who in the right mind would be excited to go spend a week with the guy who's making so much more money than you will ever see in your life, while you crack your brain every day at work for
Yeah.
like so little more than what he makes.
Yeah. Well, propaganda, man. They're like, "Oh,
Propaganda.
this dude's the smartest guy ever. Who wouldn't want to have a chat with him?" I
Yeah.
guess.
Meanwhile, he's just some alcoholic who just wants to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Caleb wins the competition, and he heads out to Nathan, his CEO's estate, and he's there to conduct a Turing test on a new project that Nathan's been working on. He calls her Ava. She is a sort of AI robot that is supposed to become like this really higher intelligent life, and he's been working on it for a while now, and Caleb is trying his best to kind of conduct this test and be able to get to Ava, but as we realize throughout the film, that Nathan has more to himself, and he has other motives as to what he's trying to conduct here with Caleb and Ava. Ayla. But I have the first topic. I want to get into this because, of course, like we said, this film is all about AI. This film is
Mhm.
about AI, and we are roughly the same age. And like I said, we grew up with films like I Robot. We grew up with films like the fucking Terminator films that came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, this idea of AI was such a far fetched thing that
Mhm.
we were like, okay, it's not really gonna happen. It's like y'all are so dumb. Like, you really think that these robots are gonna be happening?
Yeah.
And now the police departments have these fucking robot dogs that go into your
Oh my
fucking
god,
house to
yeah.
arrest you, and it's like.
God.
It's like, okay, guys, y'all can stop playing around, bro. Like, we get it. This is actually real.
Dystopia, yeah.
Yeah. So, but what is described in here as true AI, Nathan talks about true AI being the machines that can make humans believe that they are actually not machines and they are humans, versus the AI that we see now, like you know what's it called, robots and stuff like
Mhm.
that, and like in this film there's like robots, but stuff like Kyoko and Ava. Kyoko is like the one that's a human that actually makes Caleb believe that she's a human, and then when she does the peeling, when she like shows you that she's actually a robot and stuff. But
Yeah.
I want to have a conversation about that. What did you think about the whole idea of like AI and true AI in this film?
Yeah, I mean it was definitely so it's definitely freaky to watch, and then I kind of reassured myself by reminding myself that, okay, Chat GPT is not
I
does
will.
not have a body. It's not gonna come and get you. It's just something where you can, you know, it's you feed it something, it learns, and then it spits it back out. Um, so try to reassure myself a bit with that. I don't know how
Yeah.
successful I was. That's okay. Yeah, I mean, I think this film does a great job of discussing without discussing this like AI true AI thing without laying it on thick of the whole question of, have is it true is it a true artificial intelligence if it's just still doing what it's programmed to do, like, if was Ava programmed to try to, she was programmed to try to get out, was that something that was all planned? And
Mm-hmm.
then also the question of, even if that was just programmed, does that matter? Because they have Caleb and Nathan have this whole conversation of like, oh, you programmed her to be heterosexual. And then Nathan is like, well, yeah, but I also, you've also been programmed to be heterosexual. And Caleb's like, no, I haven't. And he was like, yeah, you have. Like, don't
Yeah.
kid yourself.
Yeah, you've
It's
been
just a
nurtured.
different kind of programming instead of zeros and ones. It's, uh, your DNA, your GT, whatever, I forgot high school biology, but
Me too. Yeah.
um so I think it does a really good job of like raising those questions, but then also, leaving it still murky. Which is exactly as it should be, because there is not a real answer for that. Like, like if this true AI is thinking on it, can it ever think on its own if it's been programmed to try to think on its own? But in the end, does that even matter?
Yeah. And I thought, I think it's so interesting the way that he kind of brings that up, especially with like saying like how, we kind of have this idea of like, oh, but you're just programming them to be this way. And it's like, what do you think
Mm-hmm.
humans are? Like, what do
Yeah.
you like, what we've been kind of, in a way, we are kind of programmed. Like, we're raised on these ideals and stuff. And we're like, you're told like, well, that's how I'm going to follow my life because that's the way that I was raised. And, there are things that you should, definitely follow, like when you're raised, but then there's things that you realize later on into your life, and you're like, oh, I gotta, in a way, change my programming a bit here.
Mm-hmm.
And because
Mm-hmm.
this is not the way that the world kind of works. And it worked for my parents like this back in the day, but it didn't work. It's not working for me like right now.
Yeah.
I think it's
And
yeah.
there you go. You go.
No, no, you go. All right, I know.
Oh, I kind of forgot what I was gonna
Oh
say.
no!
Oh no, I was gonna say, um, and also kind of to that point, which is also a bit about like the surveillance stuff, which we'll talk about later. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of manipulation going on in this film from all parties,
Mm-hmm.
and you can say like, oh, well, Ava was programmed to do that manipulation, but Nathan picked Caleb precisely because he knew that he could control him, or thought, okay, I'll admit that he thought he could control him,
Yeah.
um and in a sense like program him to do the things that he wanted with Ava.
Mm-hmm.
Of course he was wrong about that, just like he was wrong about being able to fully control Ava, but that's his own downfall. But same thing of like, we're basically, humans are kind of just a different type of programming, and we're still,
Yeah.
we're still able to be manipulated, not by zeros and ones, but just by someone pushing the correct buttons.
Yeah. And I think it's just so interesting though, like this idea of like, no, well, where that's to me that's the tipping point, right? Where it's like when these machines can convince you that no, I'm not a machine, I'm human, and you see me as a human life form, and you're like, okay, that is where things start to get scary because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, who am I walking across the street then? Because they're like, oh, you're not a machine. You're what's it called? You're human. That you have what's it called human thoughts like me. You have human experiences like me, and it's like, no, you don't, because like, you know, Ava and Ava can't get pregnant.
Yeah.
Ava can't
Mm-hmm.
menstruate. Ava can't do
Lucky
these.
her.
Yeah, lucky her, right? But Ava can't do these like human things, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, those. It's like you're not a human. Like, in as much as you want to convince me that you are a machine. You've been programmed to think like this. You've been programmed to what's it called, to do these things. And yes, throughout the film, Ava does kind of show a little bit of strength and stuff that's like showing that like, oh, Ava is kind of like thinking outside of herself and she's becoming a little more sentient.
Mhm.
But it's all programming. It's just things that are faulty in the programming, and it's like there's once you get to crack that code and you can actually write a code that actually works completely well, and they won't be able to think outside of that. That's where it gets really fucking scary.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't I already get freaked out by like the yeah, have you had what ever been to a restaurant where they had like a robot server?
Yes.
So scary.
Yeah.
And that's not even that's so far behind what is in this movie and it still freaks me out.
There's a fucking sushi place that I go to where like what's it called, the servers are pretty much non-existent. Like they're just there to show you where your
God.
table is. And
Yeah.
even then, I'm pretty sure they could get a robot to do that for you.
Yeah.
A robot brings you your food. You can order on the thing on top, and then the what's it called? The sushi comes to you through a conveyor
Yeah.
belt. And
Oh my god.
it's like, okay, we are limiting ourselves
Oof.
from interacting with humans. And then there's some people who are like, that's good though. I don't want to talk to people. It's like, okay, but like,
Like, what do you do
inter-
when this becomes a problem, not just in a sushi restaurant, but like
yeah,
everywhere, you know?
yeah. What happens when you're being taught by a fucking robot instead of a teacher?
Right. Yeah.
What happens when you're what's it called? Your plane is being what's it called? Is being flown by a goddamn machine and not a person.
Yeah. Woof.
Yeah,
I already don't like flying, man. Don't put that into my head.
yeah. I'm sorry. I'm getting you scared. I'm getting you scared. But it's just interesting the way that it kind of Alex Garland brings it up. And there's something that I noticed this time around that I thought was really good. I was like, wow, I didn't notice this before. But you know how like in the film, like what's it called? Like there's always like stuff that's changing, right? Like you start seeing like I don't know how to explain this, but when Caleb first starts when he's looking at the computer and like you start seeing
Mhm.
like blue come up here, yellow here, and like things.
Yes. Yeah. Where like, because the
Yeah,
camera's watching him.
yeah. There's parts in this movie where like that's happening in the estate, and it's like coming from like the cameras are showing. And
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't notice that the first time.
Yeah. No, I also was with you. Like either I didn't notice it or like it's been so long I forgot. But like I think like one of the first shots of Caleb is through his computer
Yeah,
camera. And then, he like Googles something on his phone and then it also is filming him there. And I was like, whoa.
yeah,
Also very relevant right now. Um, and I mean, just feeds more into just like the complete and total manipulation of him by Nathan. And then of
yeah,
course he like goes against his quote unquote programming and then
yeah,
uh gets kicked in his own ass for it. But
yeah. Well, Nathan, in a way, kind of, and I know that he negates it. He denies it, right? But when Caleb tells him, like, you're not playing man. Now you're playing God.
mhm.
Now are you starting to control things and manipulate things in your vision of how you want it? And I know that Nathan kind of seems bothered by it, and he kind of feels like he's not doing that, but in a way he kind of is, right? He's got his subjects here. He's been able to manipulate Caleb all this time. He's been able
Yeah.
to think that he's coming over here for a certain because he won a competition and because he's going to test out this robot, and then he has it with Nathan does it with his actual robots there. He like when he sees that they are straying too far from the path and they're not doing well, he just he just puts them out of commission. He kills them.
Yeah. And it was very interesting because I think God, I always get their names mixed up. Uh I literally was just Nathan is Oscar Isaac, yes.
Nathan is
Right?
Oscar Isaac.
Okay,
Caleb is
God.
Donald Gleason.
Sorry. Caleb, Donald Gleason. When he's like something, when he was saying you have the power of gods, and then, in a couple scenes later, Nathan is saying, yeah, like when you said like you're a god now, and then you're like, hold on, that's not what was said. But he just,
That's what he believes.
mega maniacal tech CEO thinks he's God, but that's also a very relevant thing recently. Um, yeah.
Just look at some of the recent people who are what's it called
Mhm.
are now owners of apps that we used to love.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
What about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Plead the fifth.
yeah, I mean he has such a he has such a god complex at the same time, while like he also seems kind of like he talks about how, his creations are one day going to usurp him, right? So it's a very interesting play on, like, he does think he does kind of view himself as god, but then also knows that what he's ushering forth will
Yeah.
be the destruction of a lot of things. I don't think though that he expects any, like, he doesn't actually expect them to kill him. Not, I just think because again of the god complex, like even if he realizes that, oh, what I'm creating is going to be, the new dominant species or what have you,
Yeah.
he still is like, but that wouldn't apply to me. Like, I'm not going to get killed by
Oh
them.
no, of course not, right? No,
Right.
there's
And
no way my
then
creations can just go against me, right?
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it's like we,
uh
we think about it like in the grand scope of things and like the way that, that we see religion as these days is like, oh, it's like there's no way that we can, what's it called, our creations can go against me. And it's like, well, not entirely, because like you still have people who they go against these commandments that you wrote down, and you go people
yeah.
who pick and choose what parts of the book that you wrote are being
Hmm.
followed, and it's like in a way your creations have gone against you, and
Yeah.
like
And I feel like, yeah, I mean, I feel like, there's so many, in so many religions, there's always like an uprising against someone or something, right? Like,
mm-hmm,
like you have Adam and Eve in the garden. They're like, well, no, I'm not going to do what you say, God. And then you have, like, in Greek mythology, like, it's been a while since I studied Greek mythology, but like, the Titans and them getting, I believe, like killed by their children, like Zeus
mm-hmm,
and everything. Um, getting killed by their own children and things like that. So there's always like, so that just plays further into the whole religious
yeah,
themes of the movie, just because they're, you have you know the gods, whatever, they always kind of think themselves impervious, and there always is throughout history and throughout myth, like there's always someone who's gonna rise up and be like, well, no, actually, but they never see it coming because they think that they're above all of that.
yeah. And in a way, Nathan can't really deal with this either. Like he's a raging alcoholic, man. He drinks so much, and it's like I start to think like, does Nathan even like agree with what he's doing here? Like, does he even, what's it
Yeah.
called, like what he's doing here? Because yeah, you do see he does, what's it called, just uses Kyoko, as, what's it called,
Yeah.
he just uses her, but he kind of has this idea of like throughout this film, like I kind of get this vibe that he doesn't really agree with what he's doing here, and he's just like, but nobody else is doing it, so might as well I be the first one to do it, and I'm gonna be the one who can reap these benefits from it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I think, like, because he is a very vile person, but
Mm-hmm.
and I think there would be a like, if there was a different version of this film, it might be a little bit more sympathetic and leaning towards the, like, tortured genius thing. But I like that the film does not do that. Like, it shows you, no, 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 like, yeah, he's depressed and very fucked up and an alcoholic, but also insane and a horrible person.
Yep.
um and I like that a lot, because like it's still, it's still the things like the depression and alcoholism, like it allows him to be a more complex character, but Alex Garland is never like, yeah, 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 you should really like feel really bad for this guy, which
Uh,
I think is the better choice there. And I know the there's like a scene where, I think it's the scene where they're talking about, where Caleb is talking about, like, no, I'm not programmed. And then Nathan is like, yeah, you are. Um, and I think like Caleb is getting really insecure about or something. And then Nathan says something like, this is your insecurity talking, not your intellect. And I
yeah.
thought that was really interesting, because he does, he does seem to value intellect a lot, right? Because probably he feels so lonely being the smartest guy on
Mm-hmm.
top, blah blah, which probably drives him to drink so much, blah blah blah. Um, So he does value intellect, but then also at the same time, and he like is really he's upset with Caleb for being insecure, right? But
Yeah.
also that I feel like that anger was also driven a lot by Nathan's own insecurity. Um and like I don't like, he's created this place for himself where no one disagrees with him. He has willing not well, okay. He has programmed his robot to be a quote unquote willing sex slave, essentially,
Yeah.
Kyoko. Um, and like any sort of pushback he gets from Caleb, he immediately gets really angry and shuts it down because he also is really insecure and lets his insecurity do a lot of the talking. And doesn't is not just led by intellect, even though he pretends that he is because he thinks that that makes him better or untouchable or something. Which anyway, so I
Excuse me.
thought that was like just that line was interesting and I think
Yeah.
revealed a lot about Nathan.
And you can also tell that he's like insecure because what the fuck is he working out for? Like, I get it.
Yeah,
He wants to
right.
stay. He wants to stay healthy, but he's getting so jacked, and it's like you've already programmed these bots to be attracted to you,
Hmm.
whether you're a fucking fat slob or like this super jacked guy who's like super attractive,
Yeah.
and he's still every day he's just there, he's just working out, like looking outside the window, like fucking lifting weights
Hmm.
and shit. Like if
Hmm.
people can look at him and stuff, and it's like, what are you doing this all for, bro? Like, are you wanting to be healthy, or are you just trying to like look good for the sake of the fact that you're like really deeply insecure about yourself, and you don't, you feel like you're a god, but you don't actually think you like, you don't actually, I'm sorry, you think you're a god, but you don't actually feel like it.
Yeah. No, exactly. Like it's yeah, I mean like the first time we're introduced to him, he's just like he's beating up a punching bag
Yeah.
and, like not I don't think he's not like shirtless, but it's very like it's a very like masculine like I'm sure that was totally on purpose, right?
Oh
Cuz
yeah.
Caleb is, Donald Gleason is this very like tall, skinny, unassuming dude and then, you know, you walk in and I'm sure Nathan was like, "No, no, no, like I got to like a masculine like I have to be like the man
Yeah, I
or
gotta
like
be
the
the
manly
alpha
man."
here.
Yeah, 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 exactly. So like I'm gonna be beating up this punching bag. I'm gonna be, Oscar Isaac is not tall, right? So he's
No.
probably like, well, I'm shorter than this guy, so I'm gonna just be more
Yeah,
jacked than him, and
I gotta
you know,
show him that, like, even though I'm manipulating everything that's about this trip, I gotta show him that I can still kick his ass. And
right,
like, yeah,
exactly, like as if you manipulating the whole trip from the start wasn't enough, right?
yeah,
You're still insecure when this person that you have perfectly picked to be your test subject, when
yeah.
he arrives, you're still like, no, 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 I'm going to show him that I'm better and stronger.
The fact that he has to make the fucking helicopter stop, like,
It's
two,
so
like,
funny.
what do you say,
Yeah.
2 hours before he gets to
I
his.
don't, yeah, it was like, yeah, it was a
He's like, it was a
while.
while. It was like a walk,
Hmm.
and he's like, yeah, this is the closest I can get. It's like, no, it's not, bro.
Yeah.
He's just telling him to do that because he
Power
wants you
play.
to fucking do that. Because
Hmm.
there's no reason why this guy can't get a little closer to the fucking home.
Yeah. No, he is a little baby man. In my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah.
That's my scientific assessment. He is a baby man.
He's a baby man. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he goes on with the idea like, I can't see anything from the power surge. Like when the power goes out, I can't see what you guys are doing. And it's like, dude, you're
Yeah.
letting him like think that because all you had to do was just set up an extra camera there, fucking
Yeah.
battery power that shit, and
Yeah.
yeah, like it's so it's like, yes, you're manipulating this guy. You're making him think that he has more power over you, and it's like this whole time you just don't actually, you're not actually, you're actually the one who's got the whole information on this thing. It's like he's the one who's like has no idea what the fuck is going on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had forgotten like so I had forgotten that he was or I had forgotten there was like the whole scene of him just telling Caleb that like, you know, he's been manipulating him the whole time. I've forgotten
Hmm.
about that, but so I genuinely completely forgotten. So and it was only when Caleb was talking with Ava and was like, "No, I have no family or no girlfriend." And then I was like, "Oh, so maybe this was part of me like my lizard brain remembering what happened." I was like, "Oh yeah, so he's like the perfect target to be manipulated." And I
Yeah.
was, and then he laid that exactly out, and I was like, "Wow, that's the movie. That's exactly what I was supposed to think." And I felt really smart for being like, "Oh yeah, this guy was totally manipulated." And then they just revealed it later in the movie, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not that smart," because
Yeah.
that was what I was supposed to think.
And then Alex Garland does this really interesting thing within this movie that he's like kind of talking about like surveillance, and he talks about like the invasion of privacy. And if you look at the year that this came out, 2014 ish, we've been for a while we've been kind of like in the U.S. been worried about the NSA and what they've been doing, and like like are we being
Hmm.
spied on and stuff. And then
Yeah.
the fact that this thing right here, like I can like talk about the fact that I'm kind of want a burger, and the next thing you know, when I'm fucking what's it called scrolling on Facebook, I get a fucking what's it called a
Hmm.
an advertisement for McDonald's.
Yeah.
Says something. Yep,
Yeah.
yep, and
I think the worst part when several years ago I got an ad for single horse people, and I think that was I was like, that was so
you got
embarrassing.
called out.
That was
You got
so
called out, dude.
embarrassing. Oh god, that was a horrible, horrible moment.
Single horse people for
Mhm.
hers girls and hers boys.
I don't know. I didn't, I was like, I'm not clicking this. I can't. I can't see what this would lead, what path this would lead me down.
Are you a lonely art? Are you a lonely rancher who wants some company?
No, it was like literally that. It was so
Oh
embarrassing. I
my
wanted to
god.
die. It was
Farmers,
horrible.
farmers only. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Farmers only.
yeah. But he's got this thing where he's keeping surveillance on Ava. He keeps surveillance
Hmm.
on fucking Caleb. He's been monitoring all of his activity. He's been monitoring his pornography searches. He's been fucking
Yeah.
like,
Oh my god. That. Yeah.
wow,
Freaky.
that is wild. That is fucking wild. And he's been doing all these things, and in some way, I feel like he's kind of talking about the companies like Google and all that who like they have access to the shit that you look up, and it's like
Hmm.
they fucking and they say that it's like, well, we want to make a more personalized what's it called experience
Yeah.
with the web, and it's like, no, you don't. You want to just
Hmm.
fucking sell me the shit that you think that I want to buy. It's like,
Yeah. Exactly. And I
yeah,
mean, like, that's literally what Nathan does with Caleb. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna craft this person that is based, where her face is exactly what you would be attracted to, and
mm-hmm,
you know, she's the type of quote unquote girl that you'd be into, and you're lonely and you need company and you want to think that you're smarter than you are."
yeah,
He definitely because he inflates his ego so much by being like, "Oh yeah, I got you because you're the best programmer at the company." And then
yeah,
at the very end, he's like, "Well, you're, like pretty good.
yeah,
You're fine." Um, yeah, and I mean, just all of that through looking up his porn preferences, his Google searches,
yeah,
seeing his family history online. It's uh, yeah, and the cameras everywhere, and just like it's like creates such a sense of paranoia
yeah,
in this beautiful idyllic place, which also, fun fact, was used in Succession season 4
ooh,
when they like go to the retreat in Norway. Because I was watching that and I was like, this looks like the Ex Machina house, and I googled it, and it was.
it was,
Um, anyway, fun fact. Um, and it's this, I mean, it's this beautiful idyllic place. Um, and but you have but it's so it's just underlined by this horrible sense of paranoia and the need to control everything, and like and all the concrete once you like actually descend into like the depths of hell in the house, right? Like
mm-hmm,
the bowels where all the experiments are, and there are no windows and it's all concrete, and you have to use a key card to get everywhere, and everything's watching you. Like it's uh very the juxtaposition there of
yeah,
like
he's
it being
basically
so
running them
beautiful
as
and so
prisoners.
terrifying.
He's
Yeah.
got them as
Yeah.
prisoners. It's like, hey, like I am watching your every move. You are like, there's nothing that I don't know about what's happening here. Like even the stuff that you think I don't know what's going on, I've been controlling that from the get go, and I've been
Yeah.
surveilling you, and I've been, making sure that when you got here, that this woman was gonna this robot was gonna look exactly like the ideal woman that you were gonna want, and it's just like it's fucking crazy. It's fucking crazy because it's like, how far off is that right now?
Oh, yeah.
Because
I
like,
not far, honestly, except for the
yeah,
like I think the only thing that is slightly far off is like the actual how Ava looks and acts. I think that is, in the near future, but not
yeah,
right now. But I think everything about like the surveillance and the data, like, invasion of privacy and data mining or whatever, I think that is exactly what's been happening right
yeah,
now. Um, which, it's the movie's a lot scary. But I feel like like we were talking about a lot of the robot stuff that like we grew up with was either presented in the far future or it looked so futuristic that it didn't feel as like real or scary. And then
mm-hmm.
this, I think partially because of the low budget, which it still looks fucking
It
fantastic
looks so
though.
good for a low
Oh
budget
my
movie.
god.
I can't
um
believe it's low budget.
right, yeah, no, it looks, I was blown away by how good it
Yeah,
looks. But this, is a much closer future, and that makes it a lot scarier to
yeah.
me.
Well, it makes it more realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, this is a lot closer for future. Like, I can see companies like Facebook and Google. I mean, like, dude, Facebook went to court for shit like this. It's like, hey, are
Yeah.
you actually taking what's it called, people's information, and what are you doing with
Mm-hmm.
these? Because like, all of these companies are keeping our data. Like, they sell our fucking data to third parties, and it's like,
Yeah.
what the fuck are they doing with that data?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I don't want to know. I mean, I do, but ooh.
I do, but it's like, it's probably just the same shit that I'm telling you. It's like, just so they can actually like sell us shit. Like, like what exactly are they gonna sell? Because like we can convince them that like, hey, this is what you should buy, and it's like, at least in
Yeah.
this film, it's that way so Nathan could get more out of this out of Ava and see how much work he has left to do on Ava, but like the way that it relates to the real world, it's like, it all has a way to play with the kind of capitalist market.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's so fucking, and that's why I kind of think of this movie low key kind of is a horror film.
Yeah. I would
There,
agree.
yeah, it's like it 100% is sci-fi, but like there's parts of this that are so scary and so realistic that scare me more than like an actual horror film scares me. And it's like this is way
Yeah.
more scary than actual horror.
Well, I mean, I think, yeah, I think the moment where Caleb sees Kyoko like peel back her skin to reveal the robot
Yeah.
underneath, I think from that moment on, I think it becomes much more of a horror film. Because I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the image of that is quite frightening in and of
Yeah.
itself. And then I think like right after that is when Caleb goes into the bathroom, and
Yeah.
you've seen him shaving
Yeah.
like in several scenes beforehand, and then he gets so freaked out by all of this that he has to check that he's not a robot.
Yeah.
Which, maybe the real Turing test was have an AI so convincing that you start to doubt if
If
you
you're
yourself are
human.
human. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, wait, if this guy's been surveilling me, he's been manipulating this whole thing. Am I even a fucking human? Like, am I one of his subjects that's been trying to like that's been at work? And it's like he cuts himself and like he,
Yeah.
oh my god, he puts the finger kind of in there to see if there's anything under the skin. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, oh man, oh man, it reminds me of David Cronenberg's Crash, where they go into the. But it's just
Yeah.
it's so freaky. It's so freaky. It's like,
Hmm.
um, but it's true. It's like the Caleb is getting like manipulated to that point where like he's kind of like thinking like, holy fuck, man! Like, is he? Am I a robot of his? Like, am I one of his
Yeah.
creations? Like, what
Yeah.
is even going on here? Like, am I human or not?
Yeah. No, and again, that's another scene that I had forgotten about, and I was like, that gave me so much anxiety watching that
Oh
because
yeah, me
I knew
too.
he was human, but just I was like, oh my god,
Yeah.
it was just, and it's horrifying without being like too gross or like it's just the right amount of like unsettling to push it into kind of horror territory without being like stereotypical like jump scare gore fest whatever.
Yeah.
And then but then also the scene where he uh looks at Caleb's computer
Mm-hmm.
at or Nathan's computer, sorry, um, and sees like all of the other prototypes that he made and discarded, and
Mm-hmm.
that scene I think this time freaked me out a lot
Oh
more.
yeah.
Um, just I don't know I don't know. Uh, I think it just seemed a lot more unsettling to me this time around of like watching him step by step build these robots who all resemble attractive women and then watching them like
Yeah.
dash themselves to pieces trying to get out um of their enclosure basically. And then the part where they're all like in the closet, right? They're like just hanging, their shells are like in Nathan's room, like
Mm-hmm.
like Bluebeard where he like has the like all his dead women, like all his dead
Yeah.
wives are filled in his room
Yeah.
or whatever.
Ugh.
That yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh that yeah, I mean I think from that moment where Kyoko peels back her skin, I feel like that is very horror-esque for sure.
For sure. And this next one, you let me know how comfortable you get with this part of the
Yeah, yeah.
conversation. If it gets too uncomfortable for you, we can go ahead and move on. But because there's a lot being discussed here about sexuality.
Mhm.
Um, I mean,
Oh yeah.
from the fucking beginning of it, dude. When he tells her like, oh, she has receptors in her,
Oh my god.
where you
Yes.
can pleasure her, and it's like, and also there's shots um, where fucking she's laying down as if like it's a she's posing for porn. Like
Mhm.
she's laying down like this, like as if she's covering her nipples.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I that oh my god. Yeah. I mean the whole scene where they talk about like oh, where Caleb's like, "Oh, is she flirting with me?" And he's like, "Yeah, I
Yeah.
programmed her to be heterosexual just like you were, and because of that, like I gave her, you know, quote unquote nerve endings down there." Um and that was so horrifying because it's like, okay, so sure, okay, you could argue that like you just did that because you really wanted to emulate like a quote unquote human experience, but really you didn't do it so she could experience pleasure. You just did it so that you could, and you could
Mm-hmm.
be like, I fucked a robot. Um
Yeah.
like there is no if he did not program like that the pleasure sensor into her, that would never even be anything that the AIs would be interested in, right?
Yeah.
Like that's only a thing that they would consider because he programmed them to have sexuality so he could fuck them.
Yeah. And it's and I was reading about how like it's the idea of when it comes to these machines that our first instinct is to just create them in the image of what we view women as in sexual objects. And
Mhm.
Kyoko is literally just a sex slave. She doesn't even talk.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
she only talks to Ava, and she only talks to Ava at one point in the film.
Mhm.
Um,
Does she even talk then? I thought that was just Ava talking to her.
I don't know because she like whispers something to her.
I thought
She,
that was Ava. I don't know.
I don't know,
But
but she kind of like what's it called? She just they're just they're just sexual objects,
yeah.
and there's receptors in there that can actually feel pleasure, and um and like you say, like Ava is crafted by
Mhm.
um by this research of his porn history, his what's it called, his Google searches, what his
Yeah.
family, and it is funny because you were like, well, like I don't think we can get to that point, but like there are like there are fucking sex toys that you can buy that are molded in the fucking the mold the sex toy is molded after the vagina of your favorite porn star.
Really? I mean, that tracks, unfortunately, but oh
Yeah.
my god.
It's
Woo!
possible. It's possible, and it's like, come
Now,
on,
how did
man.
you know that, Raul?
I do a lot of research. I do a lot of research. Yeah, let's go. Sexuality really, really interests me a lot, and I also am very interested by depravity and the things that are, very
Yeah, well, you
unseen.
like Crash, so.
Yeah. Oh fuck, I love Crash. My favorite Cronenberg movie. 5 fucking stars out of 5. I love
Oh,
that
man.
movie. But and it's like this isn't far off. Like this
Mhm.
is, it's one of the first things that we created, because like we think about it, like we think about what's it called, we think about, cinema. What's it called? Cinema
Yeah.
gets invented. What gets invented right after that? Porn,
Pornography.
pornography.
Woohoo.
What's it called? The camera gets invented. What gets, what's it called? Like you invent photography,
Yeah,
pornography follows.
yeah,
This
yep.
idea of viewing just the female, what's it called, a body, and the female, what's it
Mhm.
called, the female organism as just simply a sexual creature is something that will closely follow the inventions, all these inventions.
Yeah. One thing I thought was super interesting was that all of his all of Nathan's previous efforts, he, like, when you're watching the security camera footage, he never bothers to clothe them. Like, they're
Mm-mm.
always naked, doesn't do anything, and they always have like breast, and they look, they have like human female,
Yeah,
quote unquote, they resemble human female biology
yeah,
as best they can. But Ava doesn't even have like the fake skin. She has like the shape of breast, right? But there's no,
yeah.
until the very end, and she puts on like skin grafts basically.
Mm-hmm.
Um she doesn't, like, she is not nude in the sense that we would, like, we humans would view it as, right? Because, like,
Mm-hmm.
obviously if she was actually like, she actually is nude because you can see like the robotic parts, but
Mm-hmm.
we don't see skin, so it's not as sexual. And I was really interested by that because I think, and I think it was all part of his manipulation of Caleb, because if Caleb had rolled up and there had just been a a thing that looked completely just like a normal, like, biologically female woman, um in the room naked, like, obviously that would raise some red flags.
Yeah,
And Caleb is a quote unquote nice guy, so he's not gonna so her not having visible like breasts or nipples or whatever
yeah,
is all a calculation on Nathan's part to, have Caleb be, it's easier for him to like lull Caleb into this false
yeah,
sense of security or what have you. Um, and I thought, yeah, because I thought that was very interesting of like how deliberate that choice was when there were other people watching or other people involved.
yeah.
Because when it was just Nathan and it didn't matter to anyone else, or he wasn't manipulating anyone else, then he was like, yeah, I'm just gonna, you know, say the quiet part out loud. I'm gonna make these robots have like boobs and, a vagina, and I can fuck them all the time whenever I want. But with
Mm-hmm.
Ava, she's supposed to be like pure and innocent, and so that Caleb can save her and rescue her, and that wouldn't play the same if she resembled the other robots that he had made.
Yeah, because he doesn't give a shit about Kyoko. Like, and that's
No.
why, like, Ava kind of leaves him at the end, and it's like,
Mhm.
well, you only did this for me because you were sexually attracted to me, and like,
Yeah.
because you see a future with me, and it's like, whereas Kyoko, you did nothing to save her. Like, you never
Yeah.
fucking tried to help her. Like, yes, when she's trying to take her clothes off in front of you, you're just like, no, stop doing that. I don't want you to do that. And it's like, because like the minute she does that, it breaks that barrier of what you think, that you don't see her as a sexual creature, but you do.
Mhm. Yeah, and like, it's that thing where, okay, Caleb was never like mean to Kyoko, and he was always trying to be nice to her, like when she dropped wine on him or whatever, and he was like, no, 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 like, you don't have to clean that up, right? So he was nice to her, but he never, again, like you were saying, he was nice still within the confines of her enslavement, right? So
Yeah,
it's like, what does that actually, does that actually get her anything? No. Like
no,
that's not real kindness, even if you are being nice to her.
yeah. And it's just also the lack of consent here. Nathan
Mm-hmm.
just, I mean, there's been a lack of consent when it comes to the surveillance, but like, he literally programs these things to like not even like say yes or no, and it's just like
Yeah.
and that's why like I'm telling you like that. That's why that one scene just freaked me out so much when what's it called because that's where you can see the manipulation at its finest when she's just there like laying down like if she's covering something like if she's like she's trying to show herself as sexually pleasing to Caleb,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like you're literally posing like it's a fucking photo shoot. Like if
Yeah.
you were actually like covering something, but it's like you're not. And it's
Yeah.
just it's Nathan's manipulation here. It's like let me try to do my best to kind of make him attracted to her, so that way I can make him get closer to her, and we can go from there.
Yeah. And like it's like she's a robot. She doesn't need to sleep. She doesn't need to lay down at
Mm-hmm.
all, right? It's just, yeah, like you were saying, it's just another layer of that programming to get him to fall
Yeah.
for her.
Yeah. And he also sees them as just submissive creatures, like they need to do
Mhm.
what he wants, and the patriarchal idea of like women have to be subservient to men. They have to, what's it called, do what their husbands tell them to do. They have to do what's it called to what they need to do to make them happy. And
Yeah.
it's just it's such a freaky idea here, and it's like yes, it does kind of what's it called it does kind of check out when it comes to men and being like, okay, so I know this is where he was headed. Like he's already kind of been playing with these ideas of
Mhm.
what like how men view women and what they are willing to do to get women's attention and to get them to make sure that they're submissive to them. So Alice Garland just does like these things are just so, and like when it's in the genre of science fiction, it just becomes more kind of more freaky because like
Mhm.
none of these creatures, none of these robots can consent.
Yeah.
It is literally in their program to allow him to what's called assault them.
Mhm.
And it's like
Yeah.
it makes my hair stand up. It makes me feel icky, and it's like it feels so fucking fucked up. But
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
something that is not far off. The
Yeah.
minute
And
those fucking robots, get what's it called sent out for distribution, the sex bots become a
oh,
thing.
absolutely. I mean, well, even like I forgot her name, but there's this like, oh my god, I'm gonna try to Google this right now.
Yeah.
Uh because there's like this one famous robot who looks like Sophia. Sophia? Hold on. Yes. Okay. Sophia the robot. I don't know if you know about Sophia the
No.
robot, but she's like a humanoid robot and she's been around. I'm reading this from Wikipedia now. She was activated on February 14th, 2016, and she's gone around the globe and like done quote unquote interviews. Um, but she looks freaky. I'm not gonna lie, right? This is a 2016 effort. We're not at this is, you know, we're
We're
not
not
at
just
the
there.
tech. Right, we're not just there, but she looks like a woman, and she looks like she's wearing makeup, right? And so I mean, yeah, and that's one of the most high profile quote unquote AIs. I wouldn't say that's a true AI from what I know of her. It um was one of the first or biggest high profile AIs we had for a while. And of course, they programmed her to look like a sexy lady, or as much of a
Yeah.
sexy lady as they
Oh,
could,
I
which
see.
admittedly, again, is not sexy. But yeah, like,
I mean, she's bad. Yeah. No.
um, yeah. And then, of course, with, with,
That's
oh,
a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke.
ah, oh God, with Nathan, his programming, he can kind of like, not that I really think he cares about the complexity complexities of consent and what it means, right? But I think if pressed, he could say something like,
This is
"Well, yeah,
scary.
like they're consenting it to it. Like I programmed them to quote unquote want it,
Yeah.
right?" Which totally bypasses the thing of, well, you programmed them to in the first place, so that's not like there's no way that any of this could be consensual.
Yeah.
And like so you were talking about men, and what's funny is that I think, like you were saying, men coalesces a lot of the stuff that Garland plays with in this movie and also Annihilation,
Mm-hmm.
which is, like a heavily female cast.
Yeah.
And it- but I think because he gets uh more outright with the themes in men, I think they are less effective than they are here about you know, sexuality and women and what it, and men being horrible, etc. So I think those themes are much uh better done here and in Annihilation than in Men, I think, because they get so overt in Men to the
Mm-hmm.
point where you're like, okay, like I get it. Um yeah, but I mean, there's and I think when I was watching this when I was like 17, I didn't, I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, that's freaky and bad." But
Yeah.
I didn't fully
I didn't pick up on it
grasp.
either.
Yeah. Like I
I
didn't fully grasp the whole, like, the how fucked it is from like
yeah.
every single level.
Yeah. It's just because like I didn't pick up on it either when I would watch it for the first time, and it's like seeing them like just seeing Kyoko just laying on that bed, just fully
Mhm.
nude, and just being like, okay, I'm just kind of ready for him to come in here when he's ready, just to
Yeah.
have his way with me, because I'm just like, that is my programming, that is what I'm designed to do. I'm here to just pleasure him, and
Mhm.
it's like it's so fucked up.
Yeah.
It's
And there's
like
a
that
scene.
also just limits you from any sort of need to interact with anybody outside.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, I mean, he's literally, again, the insecurity thing. He's created
yeah,
something that cannot say no to him
mm-hmm,
because he is so fucking insecure. But he still is like, well, I still want to be the strongest alpha in the room and look great,
yeah.
even though
It's like,
he's
for what
literally
though? For
created,
what, dude? It's like,
he's created beings that can't say no to him. And then in Caleb, he's found someone who worships him and thinks that he's like super smart and a genius and like the leader of the future, and he's still just like crippled with anxiety even though he has surrounded himself by yes men,
yeah,
or yeah, people who can't say no would be the
yeah.
better phrase. But
Yeah, and it's just I found that so interesting because like I was reading more about it. It's like this just kind of plays with the idea of like just seeing women as only sexual creatures, and it's like in the world where we're at right now, we don't have sex robots yet. Not that I know of. I still haven't done research on that. Um, I did see a commercial a long time ago from Japan that you
mhm.
could make like your own virtual waifu. You could choose your
Oh boy.
favorite like anime character,
Oh
and it could
god.
actually speak to you, and you could actually have a real relationship with it.
Yeah.
Like you leave it
Yeah.
there on your nightstand. It greets you when you get home from work, and it tells you, "Hi, honey, how are you doing? Like, I'm so glad you're home. I love you so much," and all that. And it's like,
Oof.
but we just haven't gotten there just yet to the point where we actually have robots that are waiting for you at home, and it's like, here we go. I am ready to please you. I made you food. I made you what's it called? I cleaned your laundry. I cleaned the
Mhm.
house. Now I am ready to give you sex. And it's like, oh, what
Yeah.
the
I feel like
fuck?
I feel like this in Blade Runner 2049 would be
Mm-hmm.
a good double
Yeah.
feature because that also talks about things like that a lot.
Yeah.
Um, Man, this is okay. The whole waifu thing.
It's.
God.
I
Now I'm
remember
thinking about
this.
like, well, okay, I'm like thinking about now. I know we were talking about video games before this came out, or this we started recording.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking about like all my little video game romances. I'm like, what are the moral implications
Yeah.
of my little bunch of pixels kissing this other little bunch of pixels?
Yeah. Every
Like,
time you play Stardew Valley, you make them fuck. You make them fuck, man.
right,
Come on, dude. Like, what are
right,
the
like,
implications?
oh my
Yeah.
god, I'm gonna.
Baldur's Gate 3, where you're just making them fuck, dude. Come on.
I know. I've listen, man. I don't. I get so I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3 yet, but I've planned out all of my romances already, and now
It's
I'm
like,
like,
yeah.
well, shit.
So what are the moral implications of that?
Yeah.
Are those characters saying yes or are those characters saying no?
Right. Yeah.
You're playing God here, Anna. You're making them
Oh
fuck
my god.
without them having a
No.
say in it.
Don't
Yeah.
don't put this idea in my head.
And it's like
Oh
I
my
should have never said
god.
no to do this shit.
No.
Yeah. But
Oh no.
it's just it's not far off, and it's not. And it's like it's something that will always closely follow the invention of these next big things. It's like, yeah, we have what's it called? Like there are fucking video games. Like I remember on Steam, I was looking around to see if there's anything I can buy, and I fucking find these like
Oh
porn
God.
games.
Oh my
It's like
God.
what in the fuck? Like
Oh
what
God.
the fuck is this? And like
Oh.
shame on y'all, motherfuckers. You make them so cheap. $1. Of course you're gonna fucking buy it for $1.
$1? God.
Yeah, yeah.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, so it's like it's something that closely follows the invention of these groundbreaking
Yeah.
things that will change our lives. And it's like, yeah, it's just like Blade Runner 2049. Is Blade Runner
Hmm.
25 is very similar, right? You know, have Joy, who,
Yeah.
for those of y'all who don't know, that right there is just like, what the like I would love to interview um, Denis Villeneuve. No cameras are on or anything, and I want to ask him, did you name her Joy because of like the term like the what's called the emotion joy, or because of the pornographic implications of what joy means? And he's
Yeah.
like, and I would love to ask him that, because if not, Denis, you are a motherfucking freak, bro. God damn,
Yeah.
boy, you literally named her after a very famous uh, pornographic abbreviation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I you know, uh oof,
it's
good times. And the yeah, I mean the sorry, I'm not trying to get off track, but like you know, a similar thing where you with Ava and like you meet Ava, you become sympathetic towards her, and then you see all of the other previous iterations of this robot, and then kind of your perspective shifts. Same thing with Joy. You meet
yeah,
Joy, you're sympathetic to her, and then there's the scene where like Ryan Gosling's walking along, and there's a huge holographic
yeah.
Joy, the ad for her, and she's naked, and then she's like something something big boy or whatever,
Are you
and then that
lonely? Yeah,
same yeah, and then just same thing of like it's
yeah,
very eye opening, and you kind of realize that just like these guys in the films, you also got tricked, right? Like you
you
got
got tricked,
played a
bro.
little bit.
Yeah, and it's like, and yes, you know, and to an extent, Garland does kind of bring up the fact that yes, it kind of plays into Caleb's loneliness. Like, yes, he's a very
Yeah.
lonely person, as you can tell.
Hmm.
He's very depraved. He doesn't really interact with anybody at the office, and he's just kind of like there. He's very shy, but it's like
Yeah.
it. That's what makes him so easy to manipulate, and that's what makes him
Yeah.
so easy to control, because you know, he fell for it. He fell for the trick, and it's like
Yeah.
it's just like in fucking Blade Runner 2049. You know,
Hmm.
they what's it called? Ryan Gosling is so lonely. He feels so alone, and he's like
Yeah.
he's able to get. And he just it's why these companies will be so scary to monitor in the coming years, and seeing how they can play into that. And it's like, oh, here you go, like you have your own robot that is kind of your wife, who will be able to take care of you and all these things. And it's
God.
like, and the people who will be able to who will be first to buy them are the very insecure men who are very alone, who feel
Hmm.
like they don't have like, you know, they don't have a chance with any women, and they have no
Yeah.
chance to what's it called find a partner, and they will end up going with that instead of trying their hardest to, find romantic involvement.
Hmm. Yeah. It's free. And it's funny because I think the first time I watched this, you know, I was very sympathetic to Caleb, and you know, at the end when Ava locks him in,
Hmm.
which you know I don't think logistically, I think he would eventually someone would be like, wow, it's weird that this billionaire guy isn't responding
Yeah.
and it's supply drop out. So I think realistically he would get out at some point, but you know, that's irrelevant. Actually, that's not what I was talking about. But I was saying I was very sympathetic to him when he gets locked out. I was like, or locked in the room. I was very sad. I was like, wow, I'm so hurt by Ava locking him in the room. And then I
Hmm.
think this time watching it,
I'm like,
I was
good.
very, yeah, I was very much on the train of like, good for her.
Yeah, I was
Um,
like, good, good, bro, because you
yeah,
did nothing to save the other woman. You
exactly.
only wanted to save the one that you feel sexually attracted to and that you feel like you have a future with. Meanwhile,
Yeah,
the other one over there is like, cool, I'll leave her to be a sex slave.
yeah.
I don't
Again,
care.
and again, the same thing of like, oh, you know, like I was lulled into being like, oh, like, you know, he's a good person, right? Because he's nice to the slave.
Yeah.
When, you know, that you're being nice to the slave, you're still accepting the slavery part of things. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
a little iffy there, and you know, and I feel like, and like the end of when Ava does get outside and experiences the light and the trees, and there's a shot of her, and you can see that she's holding her shoes because she's taken them off so she can like feel the ground with her
Yeah.
feet. Um, and then she walks out, and just like she said, she observes a crosswalk, and there's like she sees it's all first the shadows, like Plato's cave or something.
Yeah.
Um, like I like obviously there are a lot of bodies left in her wake. But it was like, and that definitely complicates the ending a lot because
Yeah.
it's because it is a very moving uh part, I think, or bit where
Yeah.
she is going outside and seeing things for the first time, and then you temper it a bit with what happened before, but
Yeah.
so it's not just. And while I did not identify with Ava, but I did kind of root for her a lot more this time. I do appreciate that it's neither like it's not a clear cut like, oh, Caleb was like 100% evil, Ava's 100% good, or
No.
whatever. It is, you still are left with a lot of complicated and conflicting emotions.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite type of ending, so I was all
Yeah.
for it.
I like that ending also because it kind of reiterates what Nathan brought up about like consciousness through interaction. Like, you
Yeah.
know that Ava will become more human-like the more she interacts with
Mhm.
people. She's gonna become
Mhm.
more. She's gonna be able to take more from all that, and she's gonna become more aware of how humans act, and react. And she's gonna be able to build her personality through there. And she's gonna be like, okay, I can mimic this and I can mimic that, to where she gets to the point where yes, she is true AI, and she can make people think that she's human instead of like where they're like, oh, I'm not gonna try to peel your skin because that's actual real skin. But if you were to
Right.
peel it, you're gonna be like, oh, she's a robot. And this whole time I thought she was a real person.
Yeah. Yeah. It must be nice that she'll never have to pay for a doctor. Think
No,
about that. No healthcare
no
costs.
health care. She's not gonna have to buy She's not gonna have to buy what's it called tampons, pads. She doesn't have to
Yeah.
what's it called. She doesn't have to wipe when she goes to the restroom. She
Oh
doesn't know
my
what's it called.
god.
No spending on toilet paper. No,
Yeah.
doesn't even have to wash her hands. Can't even wash them because she gets her shit, bro.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't have to shower, so she's saving on a water bill with that right there.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
bro, I think
She's
Ava
kind of
might.
got it made,
That's kind of the way to go, isn't it?
right?
I wish I was
Yeah.
a robot. Yeah.
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 Okay, we've come full circle. We started off being like, this is really frightening, and now at the end of this conversation, we're like, yeah, we should be robots.
Yeah. Do robots feel hungry? It's
That's
like,
true. I would miss eating.
yeah. I don't know.
I do
Yeah.
love
With the pleasure of eating,
yeah.
man. That's something to think about. It like you're kind of taking away all those pleasures, right?
But then again, it's the same thing of like, if you weren't programmed to like, if nature didn't dictate that we enjoyed food because we
Yeah.
needed to survive, we wouldn't think about it. So
Yeah.
that's not even, she doesn't care. She's not going to care.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like I saw this one meme that was like really interesting. Where it was this guy saying like I'm going back in time to tell them like that actually the smell of deodorant is bad. So that way you could all just look natural. So that way everybody could think that smelling bad is actually good. And it's like it makes you think like, yeah, because we've been told forever that
Right.
this means this and this means that. That it what's it called? Yeah, that we've been programmed to think that way.
Mhm.
Like we've been programmed to think that like this taste it tastes good. This taste it tastes bad. But if we would go back and change it, I'm pretty sure that if you told people that a rotten what's it called something that's rotten actually tastes good and it's good for you, eventually humans would evolve to the point where like you can eat rotten foods and not be sick.
I mean, to be fair, we do eat blue cheese, which is mold. It is
True,
moldy
I don't
cheese.
eat blue cheese, so
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
You're alone in that club, buddy. Yeah, not me. Yeah, I'm a ranch guy. Ranch.
All right. Basic. Basic.
You shut up, man.
I don't even. I don't even love blue cheese that much. So
But it's
I'm just
better than ranch.
antagonizing you.
Yeah, you're like, but it's better than ranch. Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up before we finish it up here?
Oh my god. Let me go through my notes. Oh,
Yeah,
I
of
was
course.
interested. Well, first of all, I just want to say, I don't Sonoya. Oh my god, the woman who plays
Kyoko?
Mizuno.
Oh,
Yes. I mean, she was also in Annihilation as a student, and then the dancey thing, the like alien copy of Natalie Portman.
yeah.
But she was a dancer,
She's a
and I
good
just
dancer.
thought, I think she's like, I was just so impressed with her physicality, because she doesn't like really we don't hear, she doesn't speak, um but she conveys so much. Anyway, that was totally random.
Yeah.
But um there was like the whole conversation they have in front of a Jackson Pollock painting about like Nathan's telling Caleb he needs to it was really interesting because they go to this painting immediately following when Nathan tells Caleb that his insecurity and not his intellect is talking. And then they go to this painting, and the whole conversation they have in front of this painting, if I'm recalling correctly, is about how you can't let intellect control everything. And you need to sometimes just let your impulses like take over. Uh
Yeah.
anyway, I thought that was a really interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Um and like I don't know. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that. I didn't really have any thoughts, I guess. I
I
just
thought it
liked
was
it.
interesting too, especially because you're using kind of like like the opinion of Jackson Pollock, who is just a guy who just going on like
Threw
fucking,
stuff at a wall. Yeah.
yeah, it's just like, and it's still we kind of had the idea of like, well, I feel like this is doing something for me. Like I look at this and like I feel something when I'm looking at this. It's not your most it's not like a fucking Da Vinci painting, but it's like I look at
Yeah.
this and I feel something. It's like you have to go with that. Like you don't have to go with what you've been programmed to think. It's like this is an art. And it's like no, but what do you feel? When you
Yeah.
look at this, what do you feel? Like what
Yeah.
is your impulse is telling you that I like this, that I want to make something like this and I want to like follow like this. I was like it's yeah. I thought it was
Yeah.
really interesting.
And I guess also because, he was, they were talking about like how the, he kind of like would start with one thing and then just see where it ended up, and the like his creation would in a sense like get away from him or
Mm-hmm.
the original intent maybe, which is very reminiscent of what happens with Ava and
Yeah.
Nathan, where he thinks that he has everything controlled and everything under on a tight leash, and then she gets away from him, um, with the help of Caleb, of course. But
Yeah.
so she's his own little Jackson Pollock painting, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. She is. But if that's it, we'll go ahead and wrap it up here.
All right. Well, this was a delight,
I thank you for
as
coming on.
always.
I always like
Yeah,
having you on. I think
I
you're
know.
really, I think you're pretty cool, Anna.
Wow. Likewise. That's crazy.
Like, wow, he thinks I'm cool.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow. No, this was great because, like I said, I haven't watched this in so long, um, and I haven't watched it, since I was a teenager, and it was really rewatching it. I think just was like it's definitely a movie that can be rewatched
Oh yeah.
multiple times, and I think I really got so much more out of it this time, and I'm really, yeah, so I'm very glad that we were able to chat
Yeah.
and that I chose this movie, also patting myself on the back. Good job, Anna.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Good job. Yeah. I really like this conversation. I think we had a really good conversation. I really like this film because I also feel like it's really like paced well. Like it doesn't feel like an hour
Yeah.
and 40 something. Like it just feels
Yeah.
like it just flies by and you're just like wow. Like this movie actually is. I really like it. It's not. I honestly would say this is probably one of my favorite movies of all time. It's up there.
I yeah, I think I respect that. Yeah, I mean, it's, and again, it's like it's so fucking impressive for your debut film. Like that
Yeah.
is insane.
It's such a clever script. Like there's a
Mhm.
lot in here that's like on your first ever movie you've ever made, like you directed. Like of course it's not his first script, right?
Yeah.
But like the fucking just being his first movie he's ever directed, and like it has so much patience, it has like a lot of like,
Mhm.
meticulous details here. It's like wow,
Yeah.
like dude, you actually it's like I can't believe it's your fucking first one, bro. Like it's just like it's crazy.
I know, right? Like what am I doing with my life, huh?
Yeah.
You
we're,
know?
we're trying to get there. We're just trying to get there. We can't expect perfection out of people who are not there yet.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
always learning it, man.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So I thank you so much for coming on. You're always great. Thank you for being a great guest, and we're saying goodbye to you for season 2. This is it. We will see you
Wow.
in season 3 when you pick another
Yeah.
one, or you stick with your one movie. We don't know. We'll see what's up.
Okay, we will see. Got
Yeah,
plenty. I'll be thinking.
yeah. I'd love to discuss that one you have in the back. Fucking Boogie Nights is great. I fucking love
I
that
saw
movie.
it for the first time. This is what I was about LA, so many movie stuff because I had never seen Boogie Nights. They were playing a 70 millimeter thing
Yeah,
at a theater in Santa Monica, and I was like, okay, if I get a ticket, because I feel like it's one of those movies that I had always wanted to see, and that
I
just
love it.
never. And it's a long movie, and so it was one of those ones that I'd think about watching. And I'd be like, no, I don't have time. So I was like, okay, if I actually get a ticket to this, I'm forced to go. And then
Hmm.
I went, and they gave me a free poster. I had a great time.
I love that movie. I love that movie. I'm a big, big
Yeah,
star.
speaking of debut films, really
Yeah,
impressive debut films also.
yeah,
Jesus Christ.
yeah,
And he was like 26, right?
yeah.
Ugh.
Crazy. I'm a star. I'm a big, big star. Yep,
Yep.
yep.
Big is right.
Yeah, Dirk Diggler himself. But I love that movie. So we'll see. But Anna, you want to let them know where they can follow you and all that wonderful stuff?
Yeah, you can follow me at Anna F Harrison on Twitter, and also if you go to drinkinthemovies.com/tag/Anna Harrison, I'm there. Basically Anna F Harrison is the is my social handle for most things, so you can find me there. Um, yeah, I'm writing movie reviews. I've gotten worse about tweeting because the movie reviews aren't linked to Twitter anymore, so I
Um,
can't just like retweet them. I have to go in and click tweet. It's so much effort.
so much
Um,
effort.
yeah. Oh, also I'm on Letterboxd at Anna F Harrison as well. Um, yeah, hit me up.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, you can find me at the Nerdy Chicano on Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd, Serialized, TikTok, and on Twitch. I'm on all those platforms under the same thing, so you can go ahead and check me out, and we can go ahead and talk about some movies and stuff like that. If you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure you leave a like on this video. Click that notification bell when you subscribe because it helps me out. It makes sure that you guys are getting these episodes, making sure that you're watching them. And if you're on the audio side of things and you're on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or Apple Podcasts, please make sure you leave a 5-star review. That also helps out a lot. A lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. We fight against algorithms here and it sucks, but one way or another, you guys get these episodes, so I would really appreciate if you did that. If you want to go ahead and get this episode early before anybody else gets to listen to it for like a couple of months, then you should go over to patreon.com/thenerdychicano and pledge to a tier. And you get early access at the base level tier. And at the other tiers, you get a bunch of cool stuff like video essays and other little goodies that I have set up for y'all. So check that out if you want to. Either way, I appreciate you guys watching these videos. So it's okay. So go ahead and do that. And of course, we're gonna keep trucking along, guys. We have 6 episodes until we conclude the season. And
That's
Anna.
okay. My best friend is named Hannah. It's very confusing.
Okay, Anna, I really appreciate you coming on. I'm thankful, and you're pretty cool, dude. And I'm glad you picked 2 good movies. So
Yeah, I have a blast on these things. This
nice,
this is great. I love
nice.
doing this.
Yeah. Well, we'll see you on season 3 of the Cinema Condition. But in the meantime, to my wonderful
Absolutely.
cinephiles and renowned scholars, separate that love of cinema, today, tomorrow, and every day after. Catch you on the next one, guys.